my Panda pals, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about what happened on The Other Way, Season 6, Episode 15. So, let's get right into it. Let's start things off with Sarper and Shekinah. Shekinah's going in for her third nose job tomorrow, and she's letting Sarper decide what it's gonna look like, so he's here with her at the consultation so that he can tell the surgeon about the nose that he has selected to put on her face.
I've been wanting to get a nose job ever since I was a teenager. And I did, I got two, but they just didn't result in something I was happy with.
If you got your nose done multiple times in the past, it makes me feel like you're picky about what it looks like. How are you okay with letting someone else choose what it's gonna look like? Shekinah sits down and the doctor's like, yeah, so your nose, it ain't bad, but you know, it's not good. And I understand that this man is not saying any of this as an insult, but to me in my brain, when someone says, you're not ugly, but you could be a lot prettier, I just interpret that as, you're ugly. So my feelings would still be a little bit hurt.
With the nose surgery, you will look much more younger.
Yes.
And also much more beautiful.
Sarper is super nervous and he is so anxious about her surgery because she's gonna be going under anesthesia for a couple of hours, and he doesn't like the fact that he's not gonna be there to shake her awake if anything bad happens. And he tells us that he has tried to convince her not to do the surgery at all because she already looks beautiful.
You are starting to look like a factory production. Every girl started to look like each other.
Is it weird to anyone else that he is saying that he's so against her getting this surgery, but then is also here at the doctor's office to tell him exactly what he wants it to look like? The doctor gets a closer look at Shekinah's schnoz, and he's walking her through how her nose is basically f***ing up the proportions of her entire face. He says things like, your nose is way too long and it's way too droopy, and the droopiness gets worse anytime you smile. Again, I understand this is not meant to be a roast, but damn, my feelings would be so hurt. I'd just be sitting there being like, oh, okay, so for the past 7 years, I've been walking around with a nose that's essentially melting off my face. Great, so happy I know that now. Sarper jumps in, he whips out a pen, and he's like, listen, I'm a little bit of a control freak. And he takes that pen and he starts drawing all over her face.
Can I show you something?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
He has a vision for what he wants my nose to look like.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, yeah, cause that's normal. Sarper points out the parts that he wants shaved off, the parts that he wants filled in, and then he looks at the doctor and he's like, okay, can I just come into the operating room with you? And the doctor looks at him and he's like, oh, absolutely not.
I cannot come to operation.
You will bother us.
I will stay in the corner waiting.
It is new nose day, and Sarper is way more anxious than Shekinah is, and Shekinah can't even focus on her surgery because she's too busy trying to calm him the f*** down. She says that she's choosing to see her recovery time as a test for their relationship because she's gonna be busy healing. She won't have time to wait on his hand and foot. She's gonna be in a lot of pain, and he's going to have to step up and take care of her.
I'm not gonna be my usual self. I really hope that he can step up. It's gonna determine whether or not this is somebody that I can, live the rest of my life with.
Before she goes into surgery, they tell her that she's gonna have to refrain from having any schmexy time for a month after. And Sarper is like, what? And Shekinah's like, what if he's doing all of the work and I'm just laying there like a dead fish? And they're like, I think that'll be okay. Yeah, that's gonna be fine. Which, score? I would love to be banged without having to do any of the work. I don't want to get on top. I don't want to ride anything. Charlie horse who?
I almost had a heart attack when she said
it's
1 month.
We'll figure it out. Just relax. Can I please focus on my surgery right now?
Shekinah heads into surgery, and Sarper is like, oh my god, I really want to show her that I can be there for her, but I've never taken care of anyone else before, so this is gonna be so super duper hard. Let's move on to Sean and Joanne. Joanne sits down to talk to Joey because it is clear that he's still super upset about everything. She's been trying to get him to have fun while they explore Ireland as a family, but he has just been consistently standoffish and very passive-aggressive.
Today, we are being tourists. That's what we're doing. Joey, anywhere you want to go? Home. All right.
Joey asks her when she's planning on moving to Ireland, and she's like, I have no idea, but I swear to God, I'm gonna tell you as soon as I know. And if I were Joey, I would be incredibly skeptical about believing anything you say about promising to tell me any new information as soon as you know.
I'm not gonna up and leave you guys.
I would hope not.
I wouldn't. You guys are my kids, you know what I mean? You come first.
Joey definitely does not believe her because her actions and her words do not line up. He's like, okay, so if you're in Ireland and dad lives 45 minutes away, who am I love.
If you're not here,
Yeah.
who do I have now? It's really just gonna be me, I feel like.
And then he's like, what if something happens to Jesse? And Joanne cuts him off and is like, do not worry about Jesse. He will not be your responsibility because I am still going to be your mother.
You're not taking my role. You're not Jesse's parent. I understand that I'll be further away, but I would get on the next plane if I needed to get to New York.
I'm sorry, but Jesse is like 8 years old. How are you okay with being a remote mother from 3,000 miles away? Joanne tells him that if Jesse wants to come to Ireland with her, he's more than welcome to. And then Joey's like, okay, so I'm gonna be abandoned twice. And Joanne is like, oh my gosh, honey, you can come to Ireland too. And Joey's like, what if I don't want to?
Well, and then you could come.
What if I don't want to?
Then you stay. Whatever makes you happy.
And then she's like, if you do not want me to go, then just tell me you don't want me to go. Why are you making him make that choice? That is such an awful position to put anyone in, especially your children.
Then
I
you
feel
gotta
like
say
it's
that.
a lose-lose situation. It's not that I don't want you to. It's just like, I'd rather not have my mom, like, in a different country.
Joanne tells us that when she made the decision to marry Sean and then move to Ireland, she really was not thinking about any of the negatives because she really doesn't like to do that.
I never really want to think about the negatives in any situation, so I really wasn't thinking about any of the negatives. I was being like, yeah, this is gonna work.
So yeah, not only did her kids not actually come first, they didn't even cross her mind. Joanne reassures Joey again that she is not abandoning them. They will all figure it out together as a family, and she loves them so much.
I don't know how, I really don't know how it's gonna, like, just all fall into place. Everyone needs to work around your decision right now.
Let's check in with Josh and Lily. After Josh thanks Lily for ruining Jared's night, Jared is like, whoa there, brother, why don't we chill out? And he tells Lily that she did not ruin his night at all. They get to the night market, they pick up a bunch of different really delicious looking food, and then they sit down. Jared, the apparent peacemaker, tells them that he thinks now would be a good time to continue the conversation that was happening in the car so that everyone can get some closure.
On the way down here, Josh and Lily get in this argument that shouldn't be happening a couple days before the wedding. This should be the happiest time of their life.
Jared tells Lily that he wants to talk about their finances because we all know Josh cannot work, and Josh has been talking to him about how Lily tends to nag him about not being able to contribute financially. So he asks her if Josh not being able to work is going to be an issue for her. Lily tells him with the help of a translation app that she does not care about Josh's financial situation at all. She knew that he was poor when she met him. She knew that he wasn't going to be able to work once he moved here. She's fine with it because she has enough money for the both of them. What she does care about is the fact that Josh makes her feel unloved and often uses language that is incredibly hurtful to her. She doesn't understand how he can say that she doesn't love him when she's providing for him so much.
I think that he's saying he doesn't want to know about how much you're paying for him because he feels bad that he can't contribute.
So Lily is super frustrated, and she goes on to try and clarify that she is not trying to throw her money in his face or trying to make him feel bad. She's only mentioning the cost of things so that he knows how much she's spending in the hopes that he will show a speck of gratitude towards her.
I'm not saying that I seem to have spent a lot of money on something for him, but rather I want to make him have this kind of gratitude.
So Lily's not expecting him to build her a shrine or worship at her feet. She literally just wants him to look at her and say, thank you. That's all Lily wants. Lily is fine bearing the heavier burden in the relationship. Lily is fine being the sole financial provider. She just wants Josh to show her some appreciation because it's a lot of work.
As long as we talk and focus on each other, I truly believe we can move forward.
We know that Josh has asked Lily to stop mentioning how much money she spends on him, and she hasn't done that. And then Lily is saying that she only does this because she really wants Josh to show her some appreciation, and we know he hasn't done that either. So, like, what is the point of communicating if you guys aren't also going to use your listening skills? I honestly think Lily would stop bringing up how much money she spends if she felt like she was being appreciated. So I feel like instead of stop talking about the money because it makes me feel bad, Josh should instead be like, I promise to work harder in appreciating you and telling you thank you and, showing more gratitude if you promise to also stop talking about the money. You get the same result of Lily stops talking about the money, but now not only does Josh feel good, but Lily feels good too. It is a win-win. I don't know why you wouldn't go that route. Lily goes on to tell us that she really hopes the two of them can figure this out because her daughter is coming very soon and she does not like him. Let's finish things off with James and Tata. James has now been in Indonesia for 6 weeks and he is having a very hard time adapting. He tells us that Tata's parents are not the easiest people to live with.
I love them very much, but they can be very intrusive or controlling if you're within their bubble.
He would love to move into their own place, but they ain't got the money for that. Despite this very important fact of being broke, they continue to hemorrhage money as they head to their fittings for their second wedding. Mama and Papa Tata, listen, I know that it was super sad that you missed their actual wedding in the States, but your kiddies are broke right now, so maybe instead of a second wedding, you just do like a dinner celebration, right? Because they currently have a budget of like $0. James is not super excited to go to this fitting because he does not really like the traditional Javanese outfits for the men. Basically, James does not like that he has to wear a sarong, which essentially is a long skirt for men. They get into their outfits and James is really hating on it, which honestly is a little upsetting.
It's a unique style. It's different. I feel weird. There's no way to say it. I'm wearing a dress with a bucket on my head.
There are other ways to say it if you're not being disrespectful. Tata is super excited to be having a wedding in Indonesia because her OG wedding in the States was a COVID wedding. So not only could no one in her family attend, no one really could attend in general. James is like, happy that you're happy, but your dad wants us to spend a ton of money on this wedding, and he does not super seem to care that we are broke.
He doesn't care about anything though. He doesn't care about money or budget. He's just like, let's just do everything, the most expensive.
True. James tells us he wants to keep the wedding under $1,500 US, which in Indonesia is a ton of money. But despite that, her father keeps pushing them to add more guests, get more expensive entertainment, and move to a more expensive venue. I'm honestly surprised that her father didn't offer to just pay for the wedding, considering that he was so quick to offer to pay off their car loan back in the States, which costs way more money than I think this wedding could ever cost. James tells Tata that her dad's attitude makes things really uncomfortable for him at home, and Tata tells him she does understand because he is her father, but her dad is probably just disappointed that they've been living in his house for free for the past 6 weeks, and James refuses to help him with the banana chips.
This probably make him disappointed because every time all the kids going back home, they always help.
He then goes on to say that helping her dad make banana chips is not going to help them make any money or help him to find a job. It's called showing gratitude. You're living in his house for free for the foreseeable future, which is something that he was not made privy to until you got there. And then he even offered to pay off your car loan. It is not hard to see why he thinks you're not being the best son-in-law.
Helping your dad with banana chips isn't gonna help us make money. Isn't gonna help us find a job. So
I think that's just an excuse.
Tata goes on to tell him that they've been staying at her parents' house and they've just been treating it like it's a hotel. The least they could do is help them with their business.
I think James can learn to be better son-in-law. He can respect the culture to help with the banana chips because I want him to close to my parents.
Now, part of this could be that James genuinely just doesn't want to do it, which is kind of shitty. But the other part of it could be that he's just genuinely overwhelmed. It sucks, but let's put ourselves into James's shoes. His life sucks. He's probably overwhelmed, super depressed because he hates Indonesia. He does not want to be here. The amount of effort it is going to take him to make something of himself is astronomical compared to what he had to do when he was back at home. Plus, the nepotism here just ain't hitting the same for him.
I don't speak Indonesian fluently. I'm gonna screw it up and cost him a bunch of money.
Tata gets super mad at him because she couldn't speak English fluently when she moved to the US, but she learned.
And you're saying I don't try to learn Indonesian?
Try a little harder, like sometime without me there, to teach you, to translate for you all the time.
Seriously, try a little harder with the language, because you have been married for almost 3 years, and the most Indonesian that you can muster is an Indonesian accent while you are speaking broken English.
I left the United States, came here. I've been learning as much Indonesian as I can. I feel like it's counts for nothing.
James gets really frustrated and he tells Tata that he has a lot of pressure on him as a man because he needs to be the one to make money and provide, because if he does not, he's the only one who's gonna get criticized for it. No one is gonna look at her any differently.
Every man is gonna look at me as the failure. They're gonna look at you as like, oh, the poor girl who has a husband. And you don't have to deal with that weight. That's what I get to carry every day.
This is very true. I will give him that. James has a lot of pressure on his shoulders as the man because they expect him to be the financial provider. And he's in a situation where not only does he have very little money, but it is going to be near impossible for him to find a source of income. So James is probably feeling super overwhelmed and super underappreciated right now because ever since he came to Indonesia, he has only been getting criticized nonstop. Now, I'm not saying that criticism is not warranted. A lot of the criticisms they've given him are valid, but no matter who you are, being inundated by complaints like that is gonna be very difficult. I honestly think James should go back home. He should not be here. I mean, he doesn't know the language, he doesn't know the culture, and if we're being honest, he does not seem super open to learning about either of those things. It's a new day, and James tells us that Tata has been very distant and very cold, which he does not think is super fair.
Tata's in denial right now about our financial situation, and she's trying to look at it as it's all just gonna work magically. That's not how it works.
They're working on making jewelry together for their business, and he tells us that things are not going super great with this because they have not sold anything. Stores do not want to sell their stuff because they already have their own designs. And selling online for them is also not an option because shipping to their buyers back in the US is way too expensive.
This wedding has cost a lot of money, and I can't get a job here without speaking the language.
Tata tells him that she has actually been applying to jobs, but all of them are 9 hours away in the city Jakarta, and the salary will not be enough for her to live in the city, especially if James is also not working.
If you were the one working and I wasn't working, it would cause your family to resent me.
Yeah.
We've reached the point where we're at the red line of we need to look into going back.
Now, Tata really hated the US. She hated leaving her family behind, and she was alone most of the time since James was always gone working.
I don't want to move back to the US.
We can't just expect your family to help us pay for everything.
Maybe you go back, I stay here.
Tata is convinced that they can figure something out in Indonesia, and she says that it's unfair because she moved to the US for 3 full years, and James hasn't even been in Indonesia for 3 months. And she tells us with conviction that she is not going back. Girlie, he had a job. That is why you were able to stay in the US for so long, because he was working. And that, my Panda Pals, is all I have for you today. I know a lot of this was James and Meitalia, but they were just featured a lot in this episode. And I know I tend to rag on James a lot, and I still stand by everything I've said about him before. I do think that he complains a lot, he makes a lot of excuses, but this episode did let me see a little bit more from his perspective, because while he does make a ton of excuses and he is kind of acting ungrateful by not helping out with the business, he's able to speak a little bit more about how much pressure he's under and what it feels like for him, and that was really nice to see. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video, and if you are not subscribed yet, please go ahead, click that subscribe button, give this video a big fat thumbs up, and let me know what you thought of this episode down in the comments below. I hope to see you guys for the next one, and as always, thanks for not letting me ride this train wreck alone. Bye!